Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being patient as we were waiting for our panelists who are stuck in traffic or trying to find the parking here at Santa Barbara City College, which can be kind of a challenge sometimes, as many of us know. My name is Gianna Mori. I'm with the Career Center at Santa Barbara City College here. And we have also, I'd like to introduce Val Yerman, who also is a part of the Career Center. And we collaborate on these events together and have a great time putting together these wonderful panels for students. And thank you to our students who showed up today and for the live streamers who are listening from afar. And I expect that we will have some more students straggle in as they get out of class. So that will be fine. We won't be worried about them just coming in and getting themselves settled. I hope you all got a brochure. The brochure lists who's here today and also the different types of computer academic programs that we have here at Santa Barbara City College. I'm going to start out today by having Esther Frankel, who's one of our computer program faculty members, as well as Paula Hodge, who works, Hodges, who's going to be here from the California Community Colleges, come and talk about some specific programming in case it's of interest to any of you students. We'd like to expand your horizons on what is available. So without further ado, here's Esther.
Hi. Thanks so much, Jana. So as Jana said, my name is Esther Frankel. I'm the department chair of the Computer Information Systems Department. My colleague John Beck is here in the audience. Say hi, John. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of the computer technology departments at Santa Barbara City College. And I always say there's about 6 technology departments, but the 3 that we're going to focus on are computer science, computer networking, and computer information systems. And those are the 3 that are emphasized in this brochure. So if you didn't pick up a brochure, you might find that interesting and valuable. So computer science focuses on training individuals who want to be professional programmers or software engineers. It's in the sciences division. In a school like UCSB, it's in the engineering division. And so for students who just love to program, my husband's a software engineer, he loves that creative process. We have an absolutely outstanding computer science department. And I can answer some questions about that if you want to afterwards. Then we also have a computer networking and engineering department. They focus on hardware repair, on networking and network configuration, and also on cybersecurity. So if you're interested in that field, the CNEE department is a great place to start. Oh, hi, John. And we are computer information systems, and I always call us the kitchen sink department. We do everything else that supports businesses and information technology. And so that includes system administration, the help desk, support desk, some programming databases. And so those types of topics, those are the ones that we cover. So if you have any questions about the different departments and don't know quite where to start, I'm more than happy, and John's more than happy to answer those questions after the session. We can stay for a little while longer. We have at least one graduate of our program here on the stage, so that's really cool. And I'll turn it over to Paula.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Paula. She has a very long job title. She's the South Central Coast Regional Director, Information and Communication Technologies and Digital Media. And with that, Paula, you can explain what that is.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So that is a long title. Basically, I'm a regional director for the California Community College System, and I'm serving 8 community colleges, and Santa Barbara City Colleges is one of the 8. Prior to joining the community college system, I was an IT director for 27 years. So all these different disciplines do come together into a job. So my role is really working with the faculty and various deans on what is the opportunities for the workforce. And I'm pleased to say that all 8 colleges band together and work at what is the need in workforce and coming up with modules or some type of training to bring into their coursework that is current and relevant. One thing that we did work on was a pathway for cybersecurity. Now, this looks very elementary, but this starts off with 7th grade in exploration all the way to the community colleges where you are now. And on the back side is different industry certifications that you should consider sitting for as you're being trained here at Santa Barbara City College and actually get the industry certifications for cybersecurity. So all of this, it's a lot of expertise that you have with your faculty, and they bring it together to teach on technology. So I think the only other thing I would want to mention is that technology is in every industry. So you don't have to be necessarily working for a software development company. You'll be working in banking. You can be working in a hospital. So you can take all these skills and apply it in all different industries. Thank you.
That's a great introduction. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to introduce our panelists and give them a special thank you for taking time out of their day. 3 o'clock is a little bit early to leave the office, but woohoo, you got to. On my very left, we have Bianca Gonzalez. She's with Ontraport, and if you don't know that already, the City College has a very good relationship with Ontraport. The number of internships are available there usually. So that's something to consider. It would be wonderful while you're at City College if you could get an internship before you go off to a 4-year, or even don't go to a 4-year. You can definitely do an internship. Anyway, Bianca is an employee experience specialist at Ontraport. And next to her is Vinh Lam. He's also at Ontraport. He's a senior front-end engineer manager. Next to him, we have John Hunt, who is also on one of the advisory boards here at Santa Barbara City College, correct?
Correct.
And he's president and CEO of Compuvision. Again, a long-term, very nice relationship with Santa Barbara City College and the students here. Next to John, we have Christina Lavingia, and she's a QA or software tech engineer from Invoca. Invoca is located downtown. We look forward to hearing from her. Next to Christina, we have Cynthia Torocsik, who's a sales operation manager and sales engineer with Compuvision. She and John came together today as a team. And then last but not least, we have our own Santa Barbara City College, Olga Jones, who's a technology service specialist in the IT department and also does some instructing here. And full disclosure, there's somebody who's related here on the panel to each other. Raise your hand if you're related. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the chair there on the left of Bianca, and I'm going to start asking these panelists some questions and put them on the spot. They have all been forewarned about some of the questions, but maybe not all. I would like each one of you to provide a brief introduction about the company or organization that you work for or own. And you can just speak right into your microphone.
Me first? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I work for Ontraport. We've been around since 2008.
12 years, something like that.
Something right there. The founders founded it much earlier than when it actually became a real company. But it's an all-in-one business automation software that caters to small business entrepreneurs as well to some enterprise-level companies, which is customer relationship management software. So if you're not that savvy with technology, if you get a job there, through our onboarding system or process, we do require that everybody learn how to use Ontraport. So yeah, we'll speak more about that later on.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Vin?
Well, Bianca explained most of it, but think of our business automation tools as we serve like yoga instructors, and they just want to focus on teaching yoga. They don't want to worry about the technology, but they still have to email all their potential clients. They had to collect all of their information. Like, hey, do you want to sign up for my class? I built this nice web page for you to come visit and get more information. We keep track of, okay, who wants to sign up for the yoga classes and who's going to attend. And then after they're shown that they're interested in attending, we send them more emails. So for as a small business person, not everyone gets technology, and we remove the burden of technology so they can just focus on yoga instruction or personal coaching. And our automation tools help them do that.
Thanks, John.
So I'm the CEO of Compuvision, and there's actually two divisions to our organization. One's called Compuvision, the other's called Vision Communications. Compuvision, I say, that's the guy sitting with the keyboard and mice all day long. They're doing the managed services, IT, networking, cybersecurity, all of those pieces. And then we have the other division called Vision Communications, which is all the low voltage aspects of IT. So, for example, we do a lot of work on this campus, doing the fiber work, putting up cameras, assisting with all of the copper connections throughout the campus. We've been doing that for quite some time for Santa Barbara City College. So we kind of do everything IT. So if you're more of a person that likes to do hands-on type of things, then the low voltage is a great play. And then if you're more wanting to do the more cerebral stuff with IT, then Compuvision takes care of that. So I like to say we do just about everything short of web design. We used to say be short of software design, but we just recently started a large contract with the state of California for early earthquake warning system where we're doing software too. So we do a little bit of everything.
We'll do the web design for you.
Do you?
Cynthia, do you have anything to add?
We've been around since I've been born, basically. It's been in Santa Barbara. John's, and really grown this company, and yeah, it's great. It started here. It is here, so it is a very Santa Barbara-esque company, which I love.
How long have you been there?
A year.
A year.
Well,
Okay.
under a year, but a year.
Okay. We'll
It feels like longer.
How?
No, in a good way.
Christina.
I'm Christina. I work for Invoca. We're a business-to-business software that helps marketers understand their offline conversions. So like a Google Analytics that provides insights for marketers in terms of where their advertising spend is converting into sales. All of that's lost on the phone call, typically, when someone sees a landing page online and picks up the phone. Invoca connects their online experience with their phone call so that marketers know that a sale happened and that their ad dollars are being used well or not well based on that. And we're also founded in Santa Barbara. We now have offices in Denver and San Francisco as well.
And how long have you been with Invoca?
Just about a year.
Okay. And I met Christina just, for those of you who don't know, there's a group in town called Santa Barbara Women in STEM. They're pretty much movers and shakers at this point, and I encourage any women who are interested to look into that. You could look it up online. All right, Olga.
So I've been at Santa Barbara City College since 1993. I've seen technology grow exponentially while at Santa Barbara City College, if you can imagine. It's been quite a trip. It's been fun. I started out at the service desk, at the help desk, and I was there for many years, I think 20 plus years. Now I'm in network services, and I'm in charge of, I'm the campus card administrator, which allows students to put money on their campus card if they want to, buy anything at the bookstore or at the food services. Also, we have door access with the campus card for staff and faculty to get in through doors. So it's just a big, huge undertaking with this campus card, which is called Blackboard, or Transact, actually, I should say. I'm also involved with the student print through Canon and Uniflow. And so students are able to use the campus card to actually print in several areas throughout campus. So I'm involved with that, along with my coworkers, and can support at times when we need their help. It's information technology is comprised of technical services, which is media services, hardware support, desktop support. We also have the programming side of the house, network services, which obviously it covers the infrastructure of the college. Let's see, we have the security side in that, and I feel like I'm leaving someone out. I feel like I'm leaving someone out, I'm not sure. Web? Well, web is someone else. It's a different department now. We used to handle the web, but anyhow, it's a great place to work. I encourage it whenever there is any opportunity to come and work for us and really get your feet wet, because it's a great place and it's a great career. It's always changing. You never catch up. And that's something that we'll probably cover later.
Always changing, yes. We will touch on that a little bit. Before we move to that, though, Olga, since you're already speaking and you talked a little bit about how long you've been here and what you've done here, could you talk about your career path and your education and even how you got into IT in the first place? Because I know you have a little story there.
Yeah, so, gosh, it seems like right out of high school, I attended a vocational school, and from there I was able to actually get a job at General Motors, GM Delco in Goleta. And at the time, I was hired by Electronic Data Systems, EDS, and my first job there was help desk support. And from there, I went to data center operations, and then from there, I went to engineering consulting. So it was kind of like all within 3 years. Then I realized, you know what, I really want to go back to school and get my degree starting at City College. So I decided, well, I'll find another job. And so I ended up going into another company that actually did the application software for banking, which was for Santa Barbara Savings at the time, back in the late 80s, early 90s, if you remember. So that company was Systematics, which is now Altel Corporation. So then I was basically working the third shift, the night shift, and I was supervising their data center during that time, which gave me the time to go to school during the day. So it was perfect. So I was able to come here and take classes. And eventually we hit the recession in the early 90s, where a lot of the companies, Delco, Raytheon, a lot of the companies back in Goleta that we had moved away, and just a lot of jobs were lost. Systematics was one of them. People had to relocate. I could not, because my family was here, my home was here. But a lot of my coworkers were able to relocate and get other jobs across the country, even, like in Saudi Arabia and other countries as well. So anyhow, I was fortunate enough to find a job here, and the job that I came back to was user support as a user support specialist, which is, again, like a service desk, a help desk job, which was great because I felt like I did full circle, and that was really the job that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed working with people over, on the telephone, or training them in the training room. At the time, that's what we would call it. Doing workshops, teaching email, Office, at the Microsoft Office suite, whatever we needed to do to get them up to speed. And basically, that was pretty much how that happened. Now, during that time, when I came back, I felt, as I was going to school, I said, I need to finish my degree. So that's what I ended up doing, is I finished the Computer Information Systems degree. It was the perfect degree at the time, because the first time that I came here, there was only computer science. And I wasn't sure if there was a CNEE back in the early 80s. But this, like you said, it covers everything, every aspect of IT that I, like to touch upon. And it was just a really good program for me to continue. And it's just something that you have to continue to do. Either if it's online, classes, or, taking your certifications or recertifying, or, you just have to continue, because you never catch up with technology. And it seems like it changes quicker, a lot faster than what it used to. So.
Thank you. Cynthia, how did you wend your way to Compuvision?
So I came up here for school. I went to UCSB as a communication major, and kind of after that I decided, I wanted to pursue a master's degrees, and I really liked kind of the whole marketing, operations. That was kind of what I was really interested in. Some sales, not so much, but they all kind of are intertwined. So I got my MBA, which was an emphasis in marketing, but we did take information systems, we did analytics, all those kinds of things that kind of mishmash into what you were saying into the job that I currently have now. So I had a job for 1 year as a marketing manager, or maybe was it 2 years? For 2 years as a marketing manager at a local company that's similar to what we do. They're a network reseller. And then I went into sales, which I realized not my favorite thing for a couple of years. And then that's when I decided to kind of keep what I liked, which was sales and operations combined. And that's how I ended up at Compuvision, and I absolutely love it and kind of get the best of both worlds. So I get to work with people, and I get to do kind of the background stuff, which is what I do like to do.
Did you have to have any technical experience before you came?
Yes, it did help. I mean, you couldn't really go into the job too blindly, but like she said, technology is growing and moving so quickly. You're always learning. I mean, there's not a day where I don't have to take some test or learn something new, but it is accessible to most people. It's not, it's not this completely in-depth idea. You can learn the basics, and basic knowledge does help. So even taking the easy classes that are offered here or even online really kind of gives you the fundamentals, and then you move from there. So,
John, I'm going to segue a little bit and ask you, when you hire somebody like Cynthia, what are you looking for in an employee that maybe doesn't have a fully technical background?
I think the first thing I look at is, are they left-handed?
Are you left-handed?
Left-handed. We have like 50% of our companies left-handed, so it's just kind of a joke that we have.
I'm right.
We made an exception for her. We're looking for people that can manage clients, it's hard to find engineers, for example, that also are good with people. So we have to find that combination, because they're out there working with the client. They've got to be able to manage situations. There's always a lot of politics outside of our organization, inside other organizations in regards to IT, as you can well imagine. So we're looking for people that are well-rounded that way. We're also looking for an entrepreneurial spirit. A lot of our staff is compensated through not just a regular base, but also commissions. So commissions on sales, commissions on billables, things like that. It's kind of a different model that we've had for a long time, that our industry has shifted much more to. So I don't have to sit there and worry about, hey, what's my guy doing in the morning? Is he sitting there having a cup of coffee, feet up? He's not making much money if he's doing that. He's out there getting the buildings done and has some responsibility. But we're also looking for people that are open to education, open to learning new things, and it's kind of a thing of a zest for life too. We're looking for people that are excited to be there, excited to do the job. So I guess that's
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Cynthia, you said something about tests. I don't know, you might be scaring people. You want to talk about that a sec?
So as we are, we do have a lot of relationships with different distributors and different vendors in this industry. So it is kind of our way of saying, hey, we are serious. We want to learn about you. So something, for example, Ring Central is a voice over IP. I have to take tests on it for us to be resellers. They're not hard. They're literally, you can do them in a half hour. They're not difficult, but it is kind of a way to make sure that you understand the product and that you are serious about reselling the product. So there is a lot of learning, but that's IT. You're always going to learn in IT, which makes the job kind of exciting, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
So this is a funny story, I guess, preface. I was a poli-sci major at UCSB. I wanted to be a journalist. I interned for Meet the Press. I worked on the Daily Nexus. I did my schooling in 3 years, so all 3 years. And I was the online editor there. So I say that as like my first kind of web tech thing, just putting the website or putting the daily newspaper online at 2 in the morning before all the students woke up using HTML. So these are early days. I graduated and landed a job in Los Angeles in 2013 as a content coordinator, which was taking all the content the team wrote and putting it on the website. I moved into writing from there, editing, writing for several big publications through them, and then landed my way to a position at Graphic, which is now Amazon in town. As their editorial manager, I decided everything we wrote based on supply of content and demand from our partners and what we thought would perform. We were at a time in our life cycle, it was pretty not long before the Amazon acquisition. So we were really trying to prove the model of what was data visualizations at the time, which then became Alexa, which is what that all got converted into. So after I worked there, I moved on to PayJunction, which is another locally found company in town by 3 UCSB engineers. They founded it in like 2000, so that's a pretty cool story as well. But I was their content person, and I wrote about the company and software, which is payment processing. It's highly technical content. I actually spoke at the time on a engineering like STEM panel, and I was like, I'm a writer, I'm not an engineer, but I write about technical things. But during my time there, I worked on the layout and content and pages of our whole website redesign. Our website had been 1 page and we wanted it to be like 20. So it was a very long project, working with engineers, a developer in Romania, having Skype calls every morning, working in GitHub with tickets, noting pixels and margins, and it started becoming very engineering for me. And so I thought to myself, I feel kind of stagnant in content. I feel like anywhere I work, eventually I'll be sick of the material. And this coding thing sounds really interesting. So last October, I signed up for, or applied and got into UCLA's web development certificate program. And so I started that in October, and this story I feel like is getting kind of long, but I will emphasize this part. I had a friend that worked at Invoca as an engineer, and I asked him, and I emphasize this is so important for students to think about networking, and not necessarily for what you'll get out of it and that being a job, but realizing like the power of your connections. So I asked him just to lunch to find out what being an engineer was like. What would a day in the life be? And on that lunch, he said, my boss is a woman. She's the director of engineering at Invoca. She loves bringing women into the fold, and I'm sure she'd like to get lunch with you. So I go to lunch with her, and by the end of the lunch, she's like, you'd be a great QA, and I really need one. You should apply. And I was 6 weeks into UCLA. I hadn't even learned JavaScript yet. And so I go to the interview, and I'm very forward about how untechnical I am, but I was very, I don't know, I think I showed that I was a good student and I was interested in the interview. And I got the job. So I moved over to Invoca and started as a QA engineer and finished UCLA 4 months after that in April. And now I don't work and go to school, which is so much better. So, yeah, and now I'm working in automation and actually writing Ruby code. So that's been really fun.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry, it was very long.
That made me also think about something that I wanted to share with all of you, that one of the instructors here at Santa Barbara City College wanted me to convey, and that is how widespread coding and the technical field is related to computers. We have a gaming and animation program here, and they definitely need coders in that field too. So that's something to consider if that's something of interest to you, maybe if you have the technical and or artistic side. All right, with that, John, what's your education path?
So I'm a gaucho. I graduated from UCSB quite a few years ago. And the way I got into IT it's a very long, drawn-out story, but I'll make it very short. I ended up cleaning a fish tank for a doctor in town while I was going to college. And the doctor happened to own a computer company. a retail computer company at the time, right at the beginning of when they were selling DAC computers, back in the days of DAC and Eagle and Osborne and those. And I did a horrible job of cleaning his fish tank and just about killed everything. But we became good friends, and he said, look, I got more work over at this company. And at the time, I was pre-med at UCSB, and I was putting myself through college working full-time, so I didn't quite have the GPA to get where I wanted to be in medicine. So suddenly I got shifted over to IT, and next thing I know, I was doing IT for this company, and kind of just went from there.
And then you started Compuvision when?
I started
How
a
did that
company
happen?
called Computer Doctor.
Okay, oh,
So that was around for about 9 years, and then I sold that company and I started Compuvision about 27 years ago.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vinh?
Let's see. I grew up playing around with computers a lot, tinkering with computers, building computers. Then I took computer science in high school. And then I had this kind of like battle for a while. Do I want to go to IT with computers and setting them up and building networks for companies, or do I want to write code? And it was a long time of struggle of going to City College and taking kind of like both classes, being involved in coding things and IT things. And then I finally realized like the idea of working with people a lot and interacting with them a lot. I liked meeting with people to hear their problems and solving their problems. Then I realized I just like solving problems, and that helped. And then I didn't like dealing with people directly. But here I am, a manager of 8 people at Ontraport. But that helped me just distinguishing the two between do I want to do IT or software development. That was a big struggle for a while. But once I was able to make up my mind to go into computer science, it all kind of fell into place after that. And then I did consulting. I went to a software company and did consulting for them. And I realized I really don't like consulting. I really don't like, trying to convince people to let me build cool projects for them. So I went to an actual software company, and now I get to build their software all day long. I don't have to worry about getting contracts, working with project managers and convince them this is the best way to go, this is the best bang for your buck. I just want you to let me build it. And that's what I get to do at Ontraport, and I love it.
What job did you start out with at Ontraport?
Oh yeah, I was supposed to talk about school. So I started off at a JC, and then I went to UC Riverside, got a computer science degree. And then I ended up getting an MBA from University of Redlands. And then I ended
What's
up
your
coming-
MBA in? Oh, your MBA's in your MBA.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And then I ended up in Santa Barbara, running software here.
Did you start out at Ontraport as a senior front-end engineer?
I did start off as an engineer. I came here 4.5 years ago, and they hired me on as a senior. I've been working software development for over 10 years at that point. And I've been here for 4.5 years, and then they eventually, it's a funny story, they hired me to be a manager. And I told them in the interview, I don't want to manage people. That's the whole reason why I'm leaving is I don't want to manage people anymore. And then our CTO, like after our 90-day review, he's like, okay, so when are you going to start managing the team? I was like, I thought we talked about this. But then eventually, like 2 years later, I realized we do need a good manager on the team, and no one else is going to do it, so I'll do it.
How's it going over there, Bianca?
Oh, good. I like hearing all these stories.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, my mom has a lot to do with where I work today. I didn't go to UCSB. I being a native of Santa Barbara, when I graduated college, I wanted to get the furthest away from Santa Barbara. So I went to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I got my degree, 2 degrees, one in finance, one in marketing. And when I graduated college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I had a ton of experience, but like I could have gone for both or something in the realm, but I was getting nothing here. I was super discouraged getting jobs here because I was getting turned down. And then my mom was like, you should apply to this company called Ontraport. They're having a career fair. And so, and it was cool because they were like in Forbes and had grown a bunch. And I was talking to all the different departments during the career fair, and the support role is basically what I would have gone into. And I was like hesitant at first because, of course, me being a hopeless millennial was just like, I'm better than that. You know, I just got my degrees. I don't need to be an entry-level position, whatever, in support. But I ended up getting hired and going into support. And at the time, I was a sidekick. This is how crazy you're able to grow in this company. I was a support sidekick, and then I went to just a support rep, and then technical support, and then I was in implementation, and then I went to sales, and then I went back to implementation, and then I was executive assistant, and then HR. And HR has been, which is basically employee experience specialist, has been my longest role at the company of 2 years. And I'm just so grateful that I did get the product knowledge and client-facing experience before going internally, because I got to know the product, I got to interact with clients, and that was a huge growth and learning time for me. Because if you can imagine, you get on the phone with angry clients, and I actually enjoyed talking to the difficult clients because I wanted to turn them around by the end of my call. And that's just kind of what motivates you to do that type of work. And I knew about the product. I was like, I can build campaigns in our software I can even start my own business if I wanted to. Like, that's the mentality you get working in a software like that. And so I'm grateful in the career path that I have taken to get there. And now in HR, it's a different story. Now my clients are the employees. And so, you know, it's just completely different of dealing with, I deal with the employees all the time and what their complaints are. And that's also a position where it's always changing, and you're always having to keep yourself busy, and certifications are key, is now what I'm finding out, because I would not go into debt, I don't think, for a master's right now. So certifications are what I'm finding is great, and my company supports them, and will help me get there if I want it.
So if you want it in HR, you can get the certifications too.
Yeah, and we encourage that, anything educational, and if you want to get, even, you know, if you did want to get a degree, we would talk to you about that too. But anything that's in line with your role or position, we support.
What do you look for in your department for when you're hiring new staff?
So for HR, I'll just say, like, for even the entry-level positions, we definitely, I guess for all of them, we look for people who really uphold our values. We have 9 core values, so that's a lot. Just, you know, people who are authentic, own their results, who are team players. That's a big one. You know, people who just say I all the time. You know, we have to put them in the positions if they were going to be in a group setting. What role do they usually take? So that's a big one. Somebody willing to learn is also another one. And then people who have patience and are not apathetic. That's a big one as well. And I'm sure, actually, there's been, one of our managers has taken my mom's help desk class before he was working with us. But just knowing those soft skills and how to, and I say this for any position related to tech or dealing with clients, knowing those soft skills and how to communicate effectively to people really will serve you well, just in networking and anything. Because if you don't have those skills, like, you just need to learn how to ask what you need and what you want from people. So that's what we look for.
Excellent, thank you so much. So we've got some character traits that we are talking about here that are really important to have besides the technical skills, which would be the obvious ones. You have to also work on the other people skills, even if you don't like working with people so much.
Find a way.
Vinh, can you tell us a little bit about what a typical day might look for you?
Oh, typical day for me. So right now it is a lot of meetings. I do sit through a lot of meetings with the product team to say, okay, what are we going to build today? And we'll go through all the details of what needs to get built, and we make sure all those details get right. Because if you don't have a good plan moving forward of what you're going to build, you can go off for a few weeks or a few months and say, hey, I made this. And product will say, well, that's cool. That's not what we asked for. So having those meetings up front to kind of everyone get on the same page of what to build is really important. But then beyond that, now with managing the team is with all the code that goes into our code base, it all gets reviewed by seniors like me and the other seniors members on the staff. So it's a lot of code review. We look at all the code changes that go in. It's like, okay, does this make sense? Did you do this the right way? Did you create something new that already exists? So we have to tell you, like, hey, just use the thing that we already built that we know works, rather than building the wheel all over again. There's a lot of mentoring involved too. We have 3 juniors, and we have an apprenticeship program where other people in the company can come to the front end team and say, hey, I want to do front end. What's this life like? So there's a lot of mentorship involved in my day-to-day too. And so between meeting, and then every once in a while I still get to write code. One of the things I wanted to do the most, so it's those days where it's like, hey, I actually get back to do the real work of writing code. And sometimes I just have those talks like, hey, but now my real day-to-day is also having meetings so that everyone else could write code efficiently too. So that's my day-to-day.
John, you've worn many hats over the years, starting from scratch with your own business and working in the technical field, and now managing, owning companies. Can you tell us a little bit about what your favorite things are to do, and maybe some of the things that you learned over the years?
Favorite things to do. I think favorite things to do is to mentor the employees, help them to grow, to figure out, because technology is moving so quickly, help them to find their path into their future. I really enjoy meeting with clients and helping them with their IT needs through all the different aspects of it. It's kind of fun that a lot of our clients just come to us for everything. So whether it's they're moving their company and we need to move all their equipment, we need to put in new voice solutions, we need to put in surveillance and access control and all of those different pieces, sitting down with a client and mapping all of that out, that's very rewarding. You don't get to see much out of what you create, so it's not like you're an architect or you're building those types of things, but it's really rewarding to see when it all comes together. The client really appreciates it. The engineers do a good job. And project management makes it so that it happens on time to the client's satisfaction. So that's the fun stuff. And it's fun to be able to create an environment where I became an employer because I sucked as an employee. And I was told that by my employers. They were like, you just go work for yourself.
Why did they say that?
Else. So I really like that I get to kind of set how the company works. And we have a good time. It's a good group of people. It's a nice team. Having done it for so long, it's become fairly easy from that perspective. It certainly wasn't what I planned on doing. I planned on being a doctor. I hated technology. I hated being an engineer. Never say never. Whenever you say never, you're going to head right towards that for whatever reason. But I like IT because I like gadgets, I like toys, I like things that come together and work.
Why did your former employers tell you that you should go out on your own, basically?
I just wouldn't do it their way.
Oh, right. Entrepreneurial
Whether
spirit.
I was a waiter or worked in IT or whatever, I would do it my way, and I'd cause dissension.
And it worked in the long run.
Yeah, it helped in the long run. It was good. I like being able to create the rules, very candidly. And I think that we're very fair about all of that with the people, and they get to be a major part of it. We're probably more of a democracy than we should be, but I like people's voices. I hire smart people, and I like to hear what they have to say. I really like to watch them grow and just get smarter and better for what they do and what they do for our clients.
Yeah, beautiful. What about you, Chris? What would be a typical day for you in your job?
So great question. So my company's engineering department's about 50 people, and we have several individual teams that are composed of developers, one QA. Some of them actually have, at this point, have 2 QAs, product, and a architect. And so you are in this bigger department, but each team owns different features in the platform and works more intimately as a cohesive unit through that process. So for me, I get a ticket once it's been developed by a developer and then gone through code review by another developer or manager or architect on the team. And my job then is to test it, to try to break it, report any bugs, report my process. It's very collaborative. I initially start with writing the steps I'm going to test. I send that to the developer. They'll maybe know anything I missed or help educate me because I'm still in my first year. And our software is pretty complicated. It's telecom software, so it's pretty sticky and difficult. And so that's been a great way to learn the product is through this back and forth partnership. And then if I find nothing, great, it's ATP, it can move forward, all tests passed, move forward and get deployed and go out. We deploy at any time, which is weird for me because my last employer was on 2-week cycles. So that means no new code can hit within 2 weeks until that day, and then they release everything. We organically are just pushing out code when it's ready. So a typical day is if there's anything in ready for QA, that's my top priority. Days like today when I had nothing in ready for QA, I'm at a point in my time at the company where I'm able to start automating some of my processes. So there's some features that my team has written from scratch in the time I've been there that I intimately know so well that now I can apply my fledgling Ruby skills to write a test that does it all for me. And that's obviously great because we have automation software that does the regression testing for us, so any code change has to pass that during QA to move forward. And so essentially I'm just building and adding more to that regression suite. So that's kind of where I hope to put more and more time this next year. My personal goal is to move into development, and I really like that at Invoca, QAs, there's a history of QAs moving into development, and there's a very supported path for that. But then there's also QAs who just love testing, and that's where they're happy, and that's totally encouraged, and we have a path to develop people there as well.
I think we should back up a little bit and say, maybe it's obvious, but maybe not to everybody. What is QA? What does it stand for, and what do you do?
Sure, quality assurance. So we get the feature, before it's out to our customers, and a lot of it is you'll do go-right testing. You say, hey, as a user, this is how we intended it to be used, and I'm going to use it as expected, and hope and see that it happened correctly. Obviously, if it didn't, bugs. But then also the opposite of go-right testing, trying to break it. So what if a very simple explanation would be if you're QAing a form, what happens if I try to submit it with nothing in it? What if I try to submit in an email section just question marks? What kind of validations do we have in place? How do we prevent a user from not using the system as intended? How do we handle error handling in the case that a user does click on a certain thing that causes it to break? Trying to find all those weird edge cases so that when it gets to customers' hands, it's been vetted already. There's fewer bugs reported. Of course, sometimes we'll deploy something and then find a bug, and then we create a ticket for the fix, and then I'll fix that new ticket. If I report a bug, the developer, if it comes through they need to do some code work, then they'll have a new GitHub commit, and I will use that SHA, which is a unique string, to create a new, I'm getting really technical now, create a new environment to test in that tests this new change. So it is iterative of, I found something cool, I'll go deal with it. Then the developer comes back and I can retest, make sure that the breaking issue I found is gone. So sometimes there's a lot of iterative process, and it sits in QA for a while, and sometimes it's a pretty quick thing. It really varies.
Thank you for that. That's a great explanation. Cynthia, what's your typical day look like?
Oh gosh, it depends on the day of the week. Right now, it's go and play with John's puppy that he brings to work, so that's the best part of my day. But generally, the best part of our job is you very rarely work after work hours, so unless you're the engineer on call, which is only one engineer per week, but for the most part, 5 o'clock I'm done. So usually the morning is spent kind of filtering out my inbox, clearing it out, seeing what's come in, whether it's from an engineer, if it's from a client. I do a lot of front-facing with the client, so a lot of times they'll reach out to me directly, whether it's, hey, we're having an issue, or we need to, renew our SonicWall licenses for our cybersecurity, or SonicWall censuses, can you look into this for us? And that's usually when I get the engineer that is assigned to them involved, and I'll chat with them. But it really varies day to day. We do something called the E-rate, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, which is educational. Basically, it's money given from, I think it's cell phones, correct?
Landline cell phones.
Landline cell phones that goes toward the education system. So depending on where you are and what kind of district, you get certain percentages towards your infrastructure paid for. So it's really, really amazing, and we've worked with a ton of schools locally, so like Leda USD, Carpinteria USD. So when that's happening, I'm putting together RFPs, which is basically they'll say, hey, we need 30 switches, and we need either Cisco or similar or anything along those lines. So there's a lot of days where I'm spent talking to vendors and registering deals to say that, hey, we're really interested in going after this. So half my day is spent trying to come up with what's the best solution, putting together, you feel like you're in college all over again, putting together reports, binding them. But yeah, every day is a little bit different. I work with clients, I work with the engineers, I work very closely with John. I kind of power out with him every day about what we're looking for. We do a lot of managed services, so when we're going after new clients, that's a big thing, is putting together proposals for them. So I kind of wear a lot of hats just like him, just every day is a different day, but it's exciting. And on the days it's a little bit slower, that's when I do all my fun tests, whether it's for Ring Central or SonicWall or Ruckus, all those companies you've probably heard of, Microsoft. So yeah.
Cynthia came in following somebody who had been there for 9 years and had the job down, knew it inside and out, had all the relationships with the clients, the vendors, and we were just scared to death how we're going to fill the position, because it's very hard to find staff these days. And she came in and she just hit the ground running. And I think that what she's got going for her, besides being really intelligent, is she has no fear. She's not looking at it going, oh, I'm so scared of this. I really don't. What if I fail that test? She doesn't care. She just keeps going forward. And I think that's just a tremendous asset that she's brought to the company and for us. She's just got it down already. And she's been there 10 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
pretty incredible, actually.
How
And
do
I
you?
have failed some of the tests, by the way. And you can retake them. Don't worry, you can retake them.
Thanks for sharing that. Everybody feels better because we all fail at some things, but it's all about getting up and keeping on going, right? John, how do you find employees? I mean, if these people here are going to be out in the workforce anytime soon, what would you recommend for them?
Oh, God, it's the hardest thing. It's absolutely the hardest thing is finding people. The unemployment rate's so low right now that we're trying everything. We're on Indeed, we're on Craigslist, we're on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the top three that we put out there, and we'll just kind of, and then we've actually started going to recruiters, which I've never done in the past, but the job market is so tight. We were looking for 3 positions just in the last 60 days to fill 3 different positions, which is a lot of work for a company of our size. It's a lot of HR, a lot of meeting people. And it was surprising. We'd have people that before they even got to the interview, they'd already gotten a job.
Yeah.
We had people that ghosted us, that just didn't show up for the interview, which is just amazing that it's gotten to that point. So I'd say it's not going to be hard to find a job, because I think that there's just a lot of opportunities out there. We're constantly looking for network engineers.
Yeah, we need some.
Yeah,
If anyone's interested.
Do you use LinkedIn at all?
I do. I
you always look at somebody's account?
Personally, and I also post jobs there. So yes, LinkedIn. Once again, LinkedIn, Indeed, and Craigslist. That's kind of the triad that we use.
He does look at accounts. So if you do apply, we do look you up. So just a heads up.
That's what we tell everybody. I was just verifying.
We do a lot of research before we pull somebody in. The resume matters tremendously. It really needs to be, and even more so than the resume is the cover letter. We specifically ask for a cover letter that's pointed to us and to the position, and not just a general cover letter. We want to see that level of interest, and that they're not just going after every job that's out there.
Right.
So taking 15 minutes to write a good cover letter that's directed towards the company is golden.
Yeah, like you were
Absolutely.
talking about the 9 values or something, or, yeah. If you can put something like that in a cover letter, let people know that you have looked up what the company is all about, personalize it, whatever company you want to apply for, that will definitely get you more of a foot in the door than the generic that looks like it's, going to 100 different companies, so.
And the other thing I'd suggest, if you really see a position that you're really excited about, go after it. Follow up with emails, make a phone call. I have, the people that'll actually call and leave me a message saying, hey, I just submitted. They actually did enough research to figure out I'm the CEO. I'd love to meet you, da-da-da-da-da. That, for me, that shows a passion and desire to want to work there. And one of the questions that we ask every time when we interview our people is, I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this position? And if they give anything less than a 10, I say, okay, so what's your apprehensions? In a lot of cases, they're just like, well, I just can't give you a 10. We're not done negotiating, that kind of thing. But, and just to follow along with that, when you go to an interview, have information about the company with you. Have paper and a pen and know who you're interviewing with. We've had people come and sit down and go, who am I interviewing with? And you're just like,
Wow.
You got to go, bye. That doesn't work. But just be present, really present in it.
Really good advice. And just to let you all know, if you want help with a resume or cover letter, you can just walk into the Career Center and we can help you with that and personalize it for whatever company or companies you're applying for. It's one of the services you have while you're a student.
Awesome.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Cynthia?
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. That's incredible. So.
Olga, what's your typical day look like? I don't know if you have a typical day with all those responsibilities.
No,
but-
it's been a little crazy with the power outages that we've been having.
Oh, yeah, we've
lately.
had power outages.
I have to, first thing in the morning, 6 a.m., I'm checking all the Windows servers that, I'm in charge of, like the Blackboard server, making sure that's up and running, ready to go for food services that opens at 7 a.m., just all the other ones that are also, contingent upon other processes that have to work. And if they're not, I have to, notify the next person in IT that needs to know that it's down. And if not, I just have to fix the issue, to resolve that. So I'm doing that. I'm checking whatever tasks are running, making sure they're working behind the scenes. Everything, we've automated quite a bit, so it's made my job a lot easier, which is awesome. We have a 9 o'clock meeting every morning, which is really nice. We check in with everyone in network services. So it's nice to hear from each one of the individuals what they're working on. And oftentimes, something that someone's working on feeds into something that you did not quite know, but then you realize, oh, well, that's the reason why I'm having issues here, And so it's really nice to have those meetings in the morning to check in. So it's kind of like a status meeting. Let's see, and then throughout the day, just any work orders that come in or any work orders from the day before, we just work through them. Any problems that students may have with a campus card not being able to print, name changes that occurred, they don't see their budget and they don't see their money on their card, and because they changed their name, that was something that happened yesterday. I just have to fix behind the scenes. Just work through those, and that's one of the things I enjoy about this is like the whole problem solving part of it is if you don't like problem solving, then this is probably not, not a good place to be, because you really have to have a passion for it and really enjoy doing it. That's just something that, that I see in this.
We love the help desk here.
Yeah, and I'm not on the help desk anymore, so I still get people that try and call me on
Yeah.
the back number.
Where's Olga?
Olga, help! You know, no.
I only want Olga.
But yeah, that's something that I do miss. I do miss talking to customers, and but I still have that with what I do now. You know, I'm still. If I see something going wrong, I'm there helping them with the hardware, and you know, my coworker Rich is also helpful in that same way, and we just really get down to like getting things to work. Like we just got like some of the readers in the cafeteria and the food services to actually start taking Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and all those. We got those all dialed in and tested, and so it's just like an everyday thing. Now, the thing that I would love to have more time up for is the projects that we need to, you know, like you said, it's like, you know, for the free time, that's what I would love to have, which I'm not having right now. But yeah, and that's the other part of the job that I really enjoy, is really focusing on, you know, developing the project plan and just coming through and making it happen. And that's what I think I struggle with now. And just finding the time to get that done and completed, so.
So you talked a little bit about challenges there.
Yes.
And just real quick, just, you know, one sentence or even a couple of words, let's go down the line and say what some of your challenges or biggest challenges in your job or frustration. And then I would like to ask you to give some advice, which you have been doing a very good job of so far, but if you have something specific that you'd like to share with the students here, then we'll end with Q&A. So Olga, would you say that one of your frustrations is not having time to do the
I think one of the frustrations, honestly, is not having some downtime to actually, when I have to do upgrades, you do them and you have a certain amount of time that you can do them. And although you test them in test, when you actually do them in production, it's not the same, and you still get like little quirks that occur, and you only have so much time to, you know, and you stress out there because it happens so close to the beginning of the semester, and so I think that's the frustration. I wish we had a better, like a month or whatever, to be able to get things working without interrupting faculty or staff or the students, you know. That's really something that I struggle with. I think we all kind of do in IT at this point. But yeah.
Okay, that's good. Cynthia.
Honestly, I'd say the hardest part of the job is working with outside engineers and IT people that aren't in-house. You know, because it's, you know, that we do things a certain way. You know, we work a certain way. I have a relationship with my engineers. And just when you're working with people that are frustrated and they're calling, you know, well, our servers are down, and I'm like, okay, let me get you to the right person. I'm just here to, you know, make sure you get the items you need. So I think that's probably the hardest part of the job, is just kind of, you know, working with those relationships, because I am so client-facing that I'm kind of the spokesperson for them sometimes, and that can be a little frustrating. And sometimes they're, you know, not the nicest people, or they can also be very wonderful. I've had both experiences. But I would say that's probably the most difficult aspect of the job, and probably E-rate season is. That's a little stressful. But other than that, I mean, that's probably the two worst things, I would say.
Thank you.
I've heard it said at Invoca specifically that it can take up to a year of being an engineer there before you feel like you know anything. And I've heard that from people who've been on other engineering teams. So our software is just like really complicated, and going from a non-software background into it was particularly hard. So that's been the biggest challenge, is just the learning curve, I think. Same as applied to code. It's been now a few months since UCLA ended, and even then it's different working with a 10-year-old code base and trying to unblock yourself and find and like stop and fix bugs with like legacy code compared to a project that you owned from scratch, and it's written recently, like languages change and upgrades are required, and then there can be breaking changes in places too. So that whole like learning curve of like how to do anything in this space has been the hardest part, but it's starting to get easier.
All right. John?
Two things. Probably keeping up is the first thing, because we do so many different things and we have to be good at so many different things. It really challenges us. The engineers feel it, we feel it, and we have to know, in a lot of cases, we end up knowing more about the products than the manufacturers of the products know, because we're out there putting it in and working with it. And so keeping up with all of those different things through two divisions of our company it keeps you up at night, you know, trying to be the best at all that. And then just communication. Communication is always a challenge. Communications with our vendors, communications with our clients. People really fall to nonverbal communication in a lot of cases, and it doesn't get you places quickly. There's a lot of, I call it ping pong, that goes back and forth with emails, and I tell my guys all the time, just pick up the phone, talk to them. Don't do this. It's just a waste of time. Let's get to the prize. Do it with the clients, do it with the vendors. There's a place for email, and there's a place for texting, but you know, the verbal conversations is, I'm always pushing on that. And that's my
great.
frustration, is people fall back to the passive aspect of sending off an email, and I try to get them to not do that.
Yeah, it's good to know the communication aspect.
Yeah.
Vinh, what about you? Frustration?
I think it's like balance. If you're trying to balance quality, time, and the number of resources that you have to write code. If I told you to write code to solve this problem, if I gave you forever to do it, you'd probably come up with a really badass solution. But if I gave you less time to do it, then the quality would go down. And then if I give you a whole bunch of money to solve a problem, then you'd probably be able to come up with a really good solution. So being able to balance all of those things all the time at a software company is like, yeah, we want to release this feature. It'll provide a lot of impact to our customer base. But we also want to not spend a year on it, because if you give an engineer a year to do something, they'll make a really solid solution. But if you try to say, hey, like, so what's this balance of, give me something really good, but let's try to get it done in a timely manner, communicating that and getting people to rein in their grand ideas is always a challenge.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mine I can relate to all of the challenges here. Mine, just reflecting back at this past quarter, has been time management. Obviously, especially with HR and everyone else, you know, there's always things coming with the ever-changing laws. You have to keep up with them, as well as I have an employee who wants something right away. I want to drop everything and go help them. And I'm realizing, as advice, to maybe figure out how to work smarter with your time. You know, how can you strategically be better with your time? If you're more productive in the morning versus the afternoon, maybe do all your most important projects in the morning or in the afternoon. Like, figure out the times, like, work where you're going to learn the most in your workflow is how I'm trying to overcome this challenge right now. And then another big one is dealing with interpersonal communications with employees, with managers and their subordinates, and making sure that everybody has the right tools in how to have difficult conversations. Going back to my soft skills, really, it's a challenge for me too, in how to help support managers and employees in having those conversations, but they need to be had. Just in everyday life, it's good to have. But yeah, those are everyday challenges for me.
Thank you for your challenges and your advice combo answer. I'm hoping when you go around and give some advice that some of you will touch on maybe something about current technologies and also internships, if they're available, how to get them, how important would they be, and then we'll just go from there. Vinh, what is your main advice that you would give to students who are looking to go into the computer science industry field?
I think a number of people said it. The relationships that you build with people are going to be really important. Everyone's going to go to school. Everyone's going to be able to figure out a problem and be good technically. But then once you get out there and trying to find that job, it is just a stack of resumes. And if you know someone, if you have lunch with someone and just get to know folks and just say, hey, I'm unhappy at my current place right now, and you're just venting, oh, your friend that you're talking to, actually, I heard about this opening. So as important as it is to be able to do the job once you get it technically, having that social network to find new jobs and to just kind of share ideas with is important. So the soft skills that we've mentioned, they don't really teach that to you in school as much. They teach you how to write code, how to solve problems, but when it gets to the soft skills, those are sometimes just as important. And then the communication too. If you're the smartest person in the room and you can pull any type of code out of your butt, but you can't explain it to anyone, and you have a hard time, if you got an ego and you have a hard time communicating or sharing ideas or getting people on board with you, if you can't do that, it doesn't matter how smart you are. And also on the flip side, if you're the nicest person that everyone gets along with, but you can't do your job, that's not going to really help either. So find that balance.
Good advice. John, what do you have to say?
I think don't be afraid. As I went through college, I had different times in my life when I was living downtown here, actually right across the street from City College, and I was going to UCSB. And I'd go to school, and I'd come home, and I'd go to school, and I'd come home, and I'd never make a relationship while I was on campus. And finally, I just got tired of it. And I said, I'm not going to be afraid of going in and saying hi to somebody. So I finally just sat down next to somebody, started talking to them, and everything changed. And that also is true in the job world. Don't be afraid to call up the CEO. Don't be afraid to send an email. Don't be afraid to follow up. And maybe you might be going too high on the CEO. Maybe it's some mid-level person. But to reach out and not be afraid to do that. I encourage my employees, I truly have an open door policy, and I really encourage them to come in and communicate with me all the time. And I'm always surprised as to how reserved they can be. And we're not that big a company. But for them to say, oh, can I talk to you now? Like, of course you can talk to me now. We're all on the same team. So just get over that fear, leave it behind, and move forward.
Love it.
I'd say humility and an eagerness to learn. I believe Vinh kind of touched on this, but you could write code, and then if you go to code review and say, no, but I like it my way, that's not going to fly. Even if you come with a computer science degree and you presumably land a job right out of school, you are the most junior person presumably there in that role. So it's super important to be open to different perspectives. I think even in school, you're probably going to learn it blows my mind how many ways there are to code a certain problem, or solve any problem, but ways specifically with code to approach anything. And so being a good student does not end at school. And I really feel that way now, having made the transition. I'm 6 years out of UCSB, and I'm and that's why it feels even more wow, I feel so much like a student again. Just every day seeing something and not understanding it and asking a peer for help, or having them look at code review and sit shoulder to shoulder and look at the code together and have someone walk through how I can make it better. That takes a willingness to accept that you don't know everything, or even that you don't know much at all. And I think that's definitely endeared me to really senior people on the team, even though I'm not even mid-level, I'd say, in my experience. I think I'm very junior. Just the fact that I am going to accept any input, and I'm so grateful. So I would really recommend that, and I think it can be hard because it's natural to be prideful of your work. I think, especially if people move into coding, it's a lot like content and writing. It's art. You approach it how you saw best, and you're really proud of it. And I do think I mentioned that the bugs and fighting to learn something is really challenging, but then when it works, it's the biggest high. So then when someone's oh, let's rip it out and do it this way, it can be really soul crushing. But I think it's important to to approach that moment with the eagerness to learn and a graciousness to be a sponge, and people will love you. So I think that's a really important way to enter the software space.
Thank you.
I would say just don't look at tech as being scary. There's so many different aspects of tech and so many different jobs. Like for my position, if I don't understand something, I'll go talk to an engineer. They'll explain to me, I'm like, why are you choosing this server over this server? And I think what John and both you guys were saying is being open to ask questions and being open to make relationships. Your relationships are going to take you further than anything else. You know, and just learning how to mitigate those relationships. Certain engineers, better if you call them on the phone. Other ones, shoot them a text. It's just kind of learning how to manage the people you're around and who you work with. But it can even go outside of that. Go network. I'm part of the Santa Barbara Young Professionals group. Go meet other people. Go have fun. The Women in STEM. These are all opportunities for you to really kind of grow your space and kind of learn people in the same industry, or maybe get some advice. Maybe ask people out to lunch as well. And just be kind to people, be respectful. You know, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and it's true. You know, when you treat people with respect and kindness, it goes a long way. But you should know how to do your job too. That goes a long way.
And I'll just interject there. If there's two words I really want you to think about: look up. Take this, put it down, and look up. Mm-hmm. Be a part of the relationship. There's nothing that drives me more crazy than when people are sitting there on their devices when they're supposed to be interacting.
So be present. Yeah.
Be present.
Mm-hmm. Active listening is really important. I didn't mention this before. I'm afraid. I also teach CIS 111, which is the user support, which teaches the active listening skills, the soft skills that we're discussing. So that's in the spring semester. So just to let the students know. I had to say that, right?
Good plug.
And then, so it's just really important. I mean, that's really critical. I think people have asked me in the past, Olga, you know, when you had hired people on the help desk, what did you look for, technical skills or soft skills? And, you know, I would almost want the soft skill and, you know, over the technical. Because it was really important for me to find good people on the phones and good people to serve the users at Santa Barbara City College. Anyways, those are just great skills to have, the business skills, the active listening skills. Like you said, don't be looking at your cell phone all the time. It just drives you a little crazy. And just really, you know, interact with your customer and individuals around you as well, with your team members. They are a wealth of information. And, you know, I am a good employee at Santa Barbara City College because of them. You know, they're great. You know, they support me, I support them, and that is so important. You know, the mutual respect for one another, and that's invaluable. And you know, you can't teach that. You really have to, you know, just do it and just learn how to work with your team members, because you know they're not there to you know. Make you fail. You know, they want you to make you look good as well. So I mean, you know, they want to make the company look good. So, you know, don't be afraid to use that resource as well.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to the audience. We have a few more minutes to offer you the opportunity to ask questions. And I'm going to stand up here and hear your question so you can shout it out, and then I will repeat it into the microphone. So who would like to go first? Back here.
Hi, my name is Carlos, and I'm majoring in computer science here. Do you guys offer internship? And if you do, what should the best behavior, in your opinion, to deal with interns in your company?
So the question is, do you have internships at your company? And what was the last part about?
If they offer, what they think should be the best behavior in dealing with the internship, conducting the process of the internship.
How to get an internship?
Yeah.
Okay. Who would like to answer that?
I'm happy to. We do internships. So we're always open to having that conversation. We have to look at the skill set that you already have. Because we're working with our client base, it's challenging for us to put somebody out there working on somebody's network. If they're practicing medicine without a license, then you know that's dangerous for us. So we look at the skill set. We look at how you can integrate into our organization. as probably with the other folks that are here, our company, we have people start at basic levels and work their way all the way up through the company. So we're always open to have a conversation. We don't have a formal internship program, but we just look at each individual that comes to us and sees how they might fit.
So could somebody technically ask you if you would take on an intern for a particular project, or if they had a certain skill set?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What about Ontraport?
Yeah, so I'm actually head of the internship program. It used to be not really dialed down, but now we have it dialed down. But we offer an internship in front-end engineering, which you just kicked off for his department, and then back-end engineering. And I look for, of course, I don't know, a lot of these students don't really know. Some of them do know what they want to do, whether it's front end or back end. But for some of them, they don't know. So I look for any experiences, any projects that they've been working on outside of their schooling. Let's see what else. Definitely how they fit in with our culture, again, values, and if they really know about our company. When I have done phone screenings, a huge where I don't proceed them forward is if they don't do any research on the company.
Right.
Just doesn't show that you're enthusiastic. And this is not just for an internship, for a job. You should know what we do, or else you just don't really want to get the experience, basically. And yeah, so those are the two internships for computer science, basically, that I would say you're more than welcome to apply for. And I'm always interviewing. I would love to interview. I always go to UCSB, so the fact that I'm here, I love it. I get we've actually had a couple interns from Santa Barbara City College. But yeah, if you want to know, do you have anything to add for the front end?
Yeah, so once you pass Bianca's test, phone screens, then you can move on to me and the other guy, Evan.
Yeah.
And we start hitting you with more technical questions just to see how far along are you in your computer science experience. And then we'll ask you basic stuff on like what's object-oriented programming, what's hierarchy, just to know, do you know the basics of computer science? And then we'll throw you on the whiteboard where we'll give you a problem, and you go on the whiteboard and you solve the problem. And this is when some of the communication comes into play. We encourage you to talk out loud. What's going on in your head? What are you thinking about? Ask questions about the problem to gain more understanding of it. And what I try to preface it as is pretend we're coworkers. Pretend that it's a group project and you're working together, and you're just whiteboarding and trying to brainstorm and find a solution together. Because ultimately, you're going to be working on a team, and if you can't work and communicate with a team member, then it's going to be really hard to work at a software company. Mm-hmm. I think in school you get so used to working on projects by yourself. Yep. You got it all figured out in your head. You know exactly what to do. You don't need to explain it to anyone else. But when you get into the professional environment, you have to start working with people. It's just the way it is. And practicing, communicating, and having technical talks is going to be really important. Because there's people who are really smart and they know it in their head, but they can't explain that challenging technical information to another technical person or to a less technical person. So practicing those type of conversations is really good.
Do you recommend that people put any projects that they have done on their resume so you can see what sorts of things they've worked on?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us talking points. It's like, hey, you put this as one of your main projects. Tell me about it. What did you do? What were the problems that you solved? What were the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? That shows me, too, that you actually did it, rather than you just put some bullet points on a resume.
Great. Any other questions? Val?
I had one about the associate degree and the types of jobs that you can immediately go into as compared to, preferred is a bachelor's degree. And so just to give advice for getting certifications, I heard certifications.
So the question is, what types of degrees or certifications do you need to be able to start work?
I'll take that one too. We've got a wide range. We've got folks who don't have degrees. We have folks with bachelor's degrees. We have people with master's degrees. And it's really about what experience and what energy and passion do you bring to your job. I know there's some folks that just went to boot camps we have a person that went through the UCLA program too, and she kills it. She does really, really well, and she's run circles around people who've gone through a computer science program, or even people that I've interviewed who are computer science graduates, and they've won the interview. So there's a wide range of education and diplomas, and I think it's becoming, especially on the front end, kind of blurred of, oh, do you really need a degree? It's like, no, if you go to a good boot camp, because I've seen people come out of bad boot camps and they don't know anything. But it's having some sort of basis to go off of and coming in with a passion and showing that you're really into this job. Because if you're not passionate about it, I bring this up a lot too. You have to be passionate about it, because if you're working 10-hour days for 4 weeks on a project and you're really tired of it and you're banging your head against the wall, you're going to keep going because you're passionate about solving this problem or getting this done. If you're in it for just because it's kind of fun, or you're in it for the money, at some point you're just going to burn out.
Anybody else want to provide a comment?
Anytime that we see certifications from Santa Barbara City College in regards to any of the networking classes, the classes that Esther provides, they're absolutely tremendously valuable for us. It shows a commitment that you're going after that education. That's much more important than any kind of a formal degree for the type of work that we do.
Interesting.
I will say I have peers who were computer science majors, and when I asked them, because I was not a computer science major, what did you know before coming here that you got to bring in? I wish I knew. All of them say they learned it post-school. And I think that's maybe shifting for someone like my director, who was UCSB class of, I think, 2003. She was like, coding wasn't really part of it, like back then. And so, that's again emphasizing that once you are working, you're gonna learn that company's style and their languages they use and their libraries. For us, we have like our own way we've adapted a lot of existing libraries, so it's unique to us. So again, like that student mentality and that awareness that while we definitely will look at computer science majors, I think a majority of our team has it. I came in through a boot camp. A coworker came in through the QA route from the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden. So totally like not having that, and he's becoming very technical quickly. So I would also say what's important in interviews, and if you're stumped in any of these technical exercises that have been mentioned, is do not lie or fake it, because they will know it. What you do is you become a good student and you ask, would you be so kind as to walk me through this? Or, I'm having a hard time with this concept, like, could you break it down for me? That's what I did in my interview with the VP of engineering when I did not know the answer to the technical, and I still got the job. So the soft skills, I think, are far more valuable, and the rest will come with your interest.
Yeah, I was going to say we have the same kind of mix in IT. We have people that, have certificates and associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees, so it's the same thing.
Yes.
I'm Fernando. I'm a computer science major also. I'm just curious from the different companies which languages you guys are coding in.
Which languages are you coding in from the different companies?
We're predominantly Ruby on Rails shop, but our front end is a lot of it's in Backdraft because it's legacy code, but we're in the process of moving to React. So I know there was a question earlier about what languages to be learning. I mean, I don't think that's just us that would say React is where a lot of companies are going.
Over at Ontraport, the front end, your basic HTML, CSS, Java. We use an older framework called JSNVC. We're not using React. It'd be great to be able to migrate our 10-year-old application to the brand shiny new framework, but it's not always in the plans to just kind of rip out your platform like that. But React is a big player. There's a lot of people who, it's dominating right now. But then, who knows? 5 years later, something else might be there. So that's our front end stack. On the back end, we do a mix of PHP and HHVM. We run a MySQL database. We use Redis for our caching. Yeah. And I'll emphasize too, like, what technologies should you focus on? I would just focus on like the concepts. Do you know design patterns? Do you know MVC? Do you know what object-oriented design is? Because once you get the basics down, learning the language is just learning syntax. And you'll be able to pick up any syntax that you want. But being able to problem solve and break stuff down, that's gonna be what sets you apart. You'll pick up any language that you want. Find one that you like and just play with it and, you know, learn the ins and outs of it. And then you'll then pick up another language right after that.
Any other questions before we close up? All right, let's give a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much for coming, and have a nice evening.